Well, everybody, 1 week from today, 1 week from, well, an hour ago, gun owners are going to get screwed by the Minnesota Senate Republican caucus as they convene hearings on gun control bills in order to, well, make some Democrats happy, make the liberal media happy. Drop a couple links in here. Oh, boy. This is not good, guys. Not good. Come on in here. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm throwing a couple links in here so everybody knows what to do. Take action today on behalf of your Second Amendment freedoms. We need you to do this now. We got to stop this stuff. Hold on. We're going to get this pinned. Get it pulled together. Let me know where you're watching from. I'm live at our headquarters in Northfield. We have Robert Shelley Anderson watching. We have Scott, my buddy Scott checked in. We have Ryan checking in. Another Scott in Embarrass, Minnesota. We have Ben in Albertville. Scott in Badger. We have Robert Shelley in Cushing. Guys, let me know where you're watching from. But, yeah, exactly 1 week from today at 1 p.m., Senator Paul Gazelka is doing a great big fat favor to his friends, and they're going to hold hearings on red flag gun confiscations and universal background checks. Universal background checks. That I mentioned, it's the Republicans in Minnesota who are doing this. You know, in some states, not very many, but in some states, it's almost exclusively Democrats pushing gun control. It's almost exclusively Democrats, and many Republicans stand up and fight. In Minnesota, there are nearly as many Republicans pushing gun control as there are Democrats. Both parties just think gun owners are the dumbest, most ridiculous voters on the face of the earth. Republicans sit there and go, we can pass gun control, and these dumb old gun owners, they're going to wander into the polls and they're going to vote for us because we've got R next to our names. No, I don't think so. I don't believe that that's going to happen. We're going to do everything possible to punish lawmakers who stab our gun rights in the back, who stab voters in the back, who stab gun owners in the back. And so I've got all the updates, guys. I've got all the information. But today, what I need you to do, if you do nothing else, grab the phone number in the comment section or on top of this video and the email address and send an email to Paul Gazelka. Tell him to stop stabbing gun owners in the back. We don't want any sham hearings. Tell him to pass stand your ground law through the Senate chamber and stop toying with gun owners. Stop playing with our freedoms. That is what's happening here. We have Dave checking in, my good friend in Lonsdale. Don't know where we'd be without Dave. We have Logan checking in. We have Larry and Scott, Nate, Jeff, Craig, Linda, Travis, Leanne, Troy, Robert, Bob, and Chris all checking in, guys. Thank you so much for doing that. And Gary checking in from Lino Lakes. So here's what's going to happen. A week from today, there's going to be a hearing. Let's see if there's been a time and agenda change. So the hearing is going to take place at the Crown Ballroom at 214 East Howard Street in Hibbing, Minnesota. Okay? And they're bringing forward 6 bills. We have red flag gun confiscations from Senator Latz. We have universal background checks from Senator Latz. And we have another gun control bill from Republican Senator Paul Anderson. And we need to talk about this because those of you who've been watching this for any length of time know that Paul Anderson is desperate to make the Democrats and the left-leaning voters in his district like him. Because it's a swing district. It's a hard one to win. And so instead of fighting really hard for gun owners and giving gun owners a reason to get up and storm to the polls and vote Paul Anderson back into office. Instead of doing that, well, he's doing what most Republicans do in Minnesota. Instead, he's going as far to the middle as he possibly can. And so he is sponsoring a gun control bill. We've talked about that in the past. And in 2018, Paul Anderson was one of only 2 Republicans who stood up with Michael Bloomberg's people and sponsored universal gun registration. This is what we get from Republican majorities in the state of Minnesota. We get universal gun registration being sponsored by them. And so a big portion of what this hearing is about that's coming up on the 21st, I know there's other people out there trying to sell this as some freaking victory for gun owners. And let me tell you, it is not. What this is, in part, is a sham hearing allowing Paul Anderson some airtime to talk about the gun control bill that he's bringing forward so that he can go back to the Democrats, the moderates, and the media in his district and tell them, hey, you should vote for me. I'm a gun sense Republican. I'm a gun sense Republican. You ever hear that? The Minnesota GOP was putting out flyers during the 2018 election season on behalf of Congressman Eric Paulson, Republican Congressman Eric Paulson, who had sponsored red flag gun confiscations in Congress. And the GOP was putting out flyers. I used to have one. I'm going to find that flyer again. And it said, Eric Paulson, he's not your typical Republican. He's a gun sense Republican. And they were bragging about how he had sponsored gun control because that's what the GOP in Minnesota does in order to get, well, in order to try to maintain their control, in order to get back into office. You know what? Screw the wife, screw the kids, screw your ancestors, screw the dog. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get back into office, and I don't care about all that stuff. You mean my principles? I'm a politician. I don't have any principles. I do whatever I have to make it into office. And that, folks, well, that's just how it's done in Minnesota. That's just how it's done in Minnesota. And so this whole thing, in part, this hearing coming up on the 21st is a great big favor from Paul Gazelka to Paul Anderson to try to help him win his reelection. And so, well, how do I know? Like, how do I know that this is why, that this is what this is for? Are they concerned about that seat? Are they concerned about losing that seat? Well, you bet you they are. You see, it was Paul Gazelka who I met with last year in January of 2019, and he told me, he begged me. We're talking about Mr. Rogers. That's Paul Gazelka. He's not a man. He's a mouse. And he said, please, lay off of Paul Anderson. We need him to win his race. And he's got to pass gun control. He's got to push gun control in order to win over the Democrat vote in his district. Please, lay off of him. Is that something Minnesota gun rights can do? And I said, I'm sorry, but you must have called the wrong group in here because we don't do deals. Didn't you know that, Paul? We don't do deals. No. If you sponsor gun control, why on earth would we give you a free pass? Why on earth would we sit here and say, well, you know what? Those bad old Democrats, when they sponsor gun control, it's bad gun control. But when you Republicans sponsor gun control, well, that's good gun control. And that's something we can get behind. No, we leave that to the Minnesota gun owners cuck us. They can try to cut gun owners all they want, but not at Minnesota gun rights. No, gun control is bad, and politicians who push gun control are bad, and they should be punished. They should be punished at election time. And so this hearing that's coming up on the 21st is nothing more than a great, big, fat sham. It's a sham. Gary does a head exploding emoji and says, wow, wow. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening here. But nobody will tell you that. Nope, 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 nope. You're supposed to sit here and buy into this stuff. So the other jokers at the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, they're going around telling everybody this is a great win, that this hearing is wonderful because you know what? They're going to bring forward stand your ground and constitutional carry. Oh, yay, we're going to get hearings. Well, we should be excited about that, right? It's a good thing, right? Right? I mean, we want stand your ground. We want constitutional carry. We should have these things. And so a hearing on these bills is a good thing, right? Nah. No. No, ordinarily, it would be. Hearings on pro-gun bills are a good thing. But this is specifically designed to kill off these pro-gun bills. This is not a hearing to pass these bills. Paul Gazelka told me to my face, he told gun owners, he said, we're not passing any pro-gun bills. Because Paul Anderson, well, he's a Republican, he's trying to pass gun control. They would never endanger him by making him vote for or against a pro-gun bill. So they're putting no pro-gun bills on the Senate floor in 2020. Ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. This whole thing is to try to convince you that Senate Republicans are doing us a great big favor by holding hearings on pro-gun bills. But you've told us you're not going to pass any of this stuff. So the whole thing is a great big joke. It's a great big joke. You're using stand your ground and constitutional carry as poker chips in your political game. That's what Paul Gazelka is doing here. They're not doing this because they believe in the Second Amendment. They're not doing this because they love gun rights and love gun owners. They're doing this to cover up the fact that they're holding gun control hearings. And what do you think the media is going to do with this? Do you think the media is going to go around and paint stand your ground and constitutional carry in a favorable light? No. The media's already grabbing these stories and running statewide with it, saying what a wonderful thing it is to be moving gun control legislation. It's a lose, lose, lose for gun owners. And we refuse to participate in an absolute sham. And that's why we're asking everybody, contact Paul Gazelka and tell him, we don't want sham hearings on stand your ground law. We don't want sham hearings on constitutional carry. We want these bills put on the Senate floor for a vote. Enough beating around the bush, enough pretending that you care about gun owners or the Second Amendment, enough using our freedoms as bargaining chips with the anti-gun left. Because that's all this is. The entire thing is nothing but a great big con being pulled on gun owners. You see, in politics, and everybody, so many of you know this already, we've seen this play out dozens of times. But in politics, we know that bills don't come up for a hearing unless the outcome is predetermined by leadership, right? It's not a bunch of politicians who have no idea what's going on, and so they take a bill and they randomly hold a hearing on it, and they let the public talk, and they let interest groups talk, and then all the politicians are sitting there going, Huh, I didn't know that. That's good to know. I think that I'll vote for this bill. I think I'll vote for Stand Your Ground because I didn't know it would work that way. I can see now that this is a good piece of legislation. It's good for gun owners. It's good for public safety, and so I'm going to vote for this. And the other side goes, boy, I just didn't realize this. You know, I don't like these bills. I think they're bad, and I guess I'm going to have to vote against it based upon what I've heard. Bills only come forward for hearings and votes if the two parties have predetermined before the hearing what is going to happen that day. Hearings are dog and pony shows. We've said that from the get-go. I've seen more committee hearings, been in more committee hearings in more states all across America over the last 5 to 10 years. It's always the same. It's always the same because neither party wants to be caught with their pants down, right? Nobody wants to look foolish in committee. So they always have the outcome predetermined. And we've always said that. And then you have Lazy Rob, poor Lazy Rob with the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus. He'll sit there and say, no. We love to testify in committee because when we present the facts, when we tell people how it really works, we're going to change these politicians' minds. And we love debating in these hearings because it's good and because we're going to make these politicians see the light. Well, we know that's not the case. We've always known that's not the case. But then, lo and behold, he turns around a short time ago and says in one of his videos, oh, these hearings are all predetermined. It doesn't matter what we say in committee hearings. We're not going to change their minds. They've already decided what they're going to do. And then he turns around now and goes back to his original statement because we agreed with the last one. We agreed with that new position that he took. He's right. He's right, you know. But now he's right back where he was saying, oh, these hearings are wonderful. We're having hearings on Stand Your Ground and constitutional carry. We're going to make gun rights surge forward, and we're going to change the hearts and minds of all this stuff, of these politicians. Nah, man. Stop lying to gun owners to protect your political friends. We're being screwed by them. All of them. Donna says, are you coming to the Hibbing hearings? Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Although, we'll see what happens. We'll see if they let us testify. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But if they do, I'm going to tell them just this. Shame on the Republicans for holding sham hearings. Shame on all of you for using our gun rights as bargaining chips. Shame on you for holding Stand Your Ground and constitutional carry hostage for years and only dragging them out now when it best suits your political needs. That's what I'm going to tell them if I get to take the stand. But of course, when I'm done, there'll be Lazy Rob. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for this opportunity to address you here today. And I would love to just talk about Stand Your Ground law, and I love constitutional carry law, and this is what's so bad about the gun control laws, and just thank you so much for everything you guys do. And I especially want to thank you, ginger redhead loser Mark Coran, for sponsoring our pro-gun bills. The hearing is supposed to last entirely too long, and I don't know how much of that I can take. It'll be very difficult to listen to. But yes, of course, I will be there. I will be there to make the politicians as uncomfortable as humanly possible. But everybody must know that this entire thing is an absolute freaking sham. We've had we've had the Senate Republican majority for 4 years. They wouldn't touch it in 2017. They wouldn't touch Stand Your Ground in 2018. They wouldn't touch it in 2019. Here they are in 2020, and they need something to tell voters back home that they're pro-gun, because they've not held a single vote on a single pro-gun bill for the entire time we've had a Senate Republican majority. Not a single one. But oh my God, the 2020 elections are here. And you can bet your freaking backside that every single GOP senator is going to be walking through their parades. They're going to be walking door to door in their districts. And when a gun owner says, Senator so-and-so, why should I vote for you? I'm a big gun rights person. What have you done for gun owners? What have you done? And every single one of those politicians is going to say, we had hearings on Stand Your Ground and constitutional carry, and it's just a shame. We would have passed it, of course, if it wasn't for those bad Democrats who are standing in our way. So what you need to do is go to the polls and vote for us anti-gun Republicans, put us back into office, and that is how we're going to get Stand Your Ground and constitutional carry. We had a Republican House for 4 years, too. 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018, we had a Republican majority House. So that means we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate for 2017 and 2018. We had 2/3 of the Minnesota government with a Democrat governor who is so weak and pathetic, he could hardly stand up and give his State of the State speech. In fact, he fell over. He collapsed out of sight. He was a weak Democrat. He was a weak man. And it was our best chance to force him to take action for or against Stand Your Ground law. And if he killed it, which he may have done so, we could have used that to bludgeon those people at election time during the 2018 elections. But no, they didn't do it. Republicans never pass pro-gun legislation when they have the majorities. They never do so. And then we lost the House because 17 Republicans had sponsored gun control, hoping that they would make the Democrats in their districts like them, and they all still voted against them. You see, that's the big problem in Minnesota. And I know we pick on Republicans a lot, but they're supposed to be, I mean, we all know the Democrats are a bunch of crazy, psychotic lefties. They're nuts. They're socialists. Some of them are communists. These people are just the worst people, many of them, that God ever stood up on two legs and had the misfortune to blow breath into. But our side, the pro-gun, limited government side, all of that, well, they're the ones stabbing us in the back over and over and over. You see, anti-gun Democrats, they stick a knife in your chest. I'll tell you what, I'd rather have a knife sticking out of my chest than out of my back. I'd rather have a knife coming right at me that I can fight off than have a friend come up and stick one right in my back. And that's what we've been getting for years in Minnesota from our Republican majorities, is a knife in the back. And that's all this committee hearing is that's coming up next Tuesday, is a knife in the back. They're dragging a dusty old Stand Your Ground and constitutional carry law. They're dragging those out of the drawer that they've kept them locked in for the last 4 years. They're dragging those out to give them a fake hearing so that gun owners run around the state going, oh, thank you so much. You held hearings. No. You conned gun owners. Well, we're not conned. We know how this works. We've been in politics a long time, folks. My brothers and I, we fight for gun rights in states all across America. Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. The list goes on. We've seen this play out over and over and over in legislatures all across America. And maybe that's a lesson to pass on. Maybe that's a lesson. For all you politicians in Minnesota, look outside. Look outside of this state and watch how other people do it. Lazy Rob, I know you're new to the game. I know that all you know is what politicians tell you in St. Paul, but try to get a little bit of experience, life experience. It's called maturing. Mature a little bit and look around America and watch how this game is actually played. And we might actually make some progress in this state, because in some states, well, take New York, for example. Right now, New York is getting its face kicked in by their Democrat governor, who everybody knows, Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo. Kind of like Minnesota, right? Gun owners are getting their faces kicked in by Tim Walz. And so out in New York, what are we seeing? We're seeing Republicans outraged and standing up, screaming on behalf of gun owners and going to war against Andrew Cuomo and his friends to try to stop his leftist agenda from totally obliterating the state of New York. I mean, they are totally just, oh boy, going to town. It's all kind of metaphors that I can't say on a family-friendly show. They're going to town for gun owners and so many others in the state of New York. Here in Minnesota, when we're getting our faces kicked in by people like Tim Walz, what does our side do? It is the Minnesota GOP way. They have decided that the best way to gain control, the best way to maintain their grip on power is not to go to war like Republicans in New York are doing. It's not to pour on the pressure on the leftist Democrats and our piece of crap governor and the leftist media. No. They don't do any of that. Minnesota Republicans, oh God, they ride that fence as much as they possibly can. As much as they can. And as often as they can go to the left, as often as they can veer over to make the Democrats happy, they do it. They do it. Enough is enough is enough. Stand up and fight for gun owners. Stand up and fight for what you believe in. If you claim to be pro-gun, politicians, act like it. Act like it. Marcia says there is no honor in people who use those they claim to champion. So best to dump them quickly. Absolutely. She says they are cowards. Adam says you're telling it straight. Thank you, Adam. I like that. Marcia says again, I like this. I like this lady. She's a great lady. She says, I don't want my politicians to say they're pro-gun. I want them to say they're pro-gun owners, pro-Bill of Rights, and pro-liberty, which means that they would have to be anti-government interference and what is not an enumerated power, like gun rights. Yeah, don't just say it, do it. Don't just say it, do it. Let's see here. Is there somebody on here running their mouths? I see somebody lighting into a guy named Kurt. Is there a Kurt on here who needs a kick? I don't know. Gary says, if they kick us, we kick back. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's our job. That's what Minnesota Gun Rights does best. That's what Minnesota Gun Rights does best. And that's why they hate us so much. That's why they despise us in St. Paul, but that's okay. It's also the reason they fear gun owners. They fear gun owners again. It's something they haven't done in a long time. But the politicians in Minnesota are learning very quickly, very quickly. It's time to fear the members of Minnesota gun rights. And that only comes from respect. And respect, well, we teach it to these people in spades. Dan says the Republicans are spineless. Yeah, Mike checking in from Mankato says keep up the good work. Love it, man. Bonnie, thank you. Bonnie says her email has been sent. Very good. Very good. Keep the pressure on. Don't buy this crap. It's being sold to you from all sides. All sides. This committee hearing coming up on next Tuesday, it's an absolute con job. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. But Lazy Rob with the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, he's been given. Notice, folks, here at Minnesota Gun Rights, we know it's more popular to attack Democrats. We know it's more popular to attack Moms Demand Action in every town for gun safety. It's more popular to attack blue. We understand that. But a bigger threat to gun rights is friends who are actually enemies. It's those who say they are for our freedom, but they are actually against our freedom. That is the great danger. That is the great danger of this fight in Minnesota, is we have groups and whole parties stabbing gun owners in the back who are claiming to be pro-gun. There is not a Republican lawmaker in the state of Minnesota who would say that they are anti-gun to your face. They all say they're pro-gun, and so many of them have sponsored gun control bills, are sponsoring gun control bills, are standing up in favor of common sense gun control, or in some other way are turning on gun owners. But they'll all tell you they're pro-gun. And so what's more dangerous? Is it Moms Demand Action out there door knocking and telling everybody, vote for this gun sense candidate? They're here for gun control reforms. What's more dangerous? That? At least you know that that candidate is anti-gun. You know that that person is dangerous to your freedoms. What's more dangerous? That or the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus cucking gun owners all over the place and telling everybody that these politicians are pro-gun when they're actually totally in favor of gun control. Oh, man. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I just love being up here in St. Paul, and these politicians are my friends, and let me take a selfie with Senator so-and-so, and can I fluff your pillow? Can I fluff your pillow? Mr. Senator, would you like some coffee, sir? I brought you some coffee. You see, folks, if you want to advance gun rights, what you gotta do is go to the Capitol and spend 95% of your day on your knees. Nah. No. Wrong. Wrong. No, that's not how that works at all. That is a surefire way to have your gun rights utterly destroyed. Because politicians don't fear weak people. They don't fear the likes of Lazy Rob. And they don't fear the people that they represent. Because if your leadership is weak, well, the message they're going to pass on is weak. And so while they're sitting there telling everybody, come on up to Hibbing, come on up for these hearings, we're going to have a great big event, and we're going to all get together, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and come to blah, 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 blah. While they're sitting there doing all of that, well, they're just lying to gun owners. Come on. We know better than that. We know better than that. We're sick of it. We're absolutely sick and tired of it. We're tired of having our gun rights attacked. We're tired of having politicians say one thing and do another. We're tired of having Minnesota Republicans act like Iowa Democrats. We're tired of seeing Minnesota Republicans act worse than South Dakota Democrats. Minnesota Republicans are the most left-leaning Republicans in the entire country. I mean, if you just drove into a state like Oklahoma and listened to a group of Republican lawmakers talk, you'd think that Charleston Heston is back here holding his gun and saying, "For my cold, dead hands." There's no comparison. There's no comparison. Paul Gazelka, Lyon Scott Jensen, Paul Anderson, Kurt Doubt, Milk Toast, Josh Heinzman, these people are the most left-leaning Republicans in the entire country. And it's our job to straighten them out. We got to straighten them out. Demand action. Demand action. That's why I'm asking everybody to call and or email Senator Paul Gazelka and tell him to stop playing gun owners and pass Stand Your Ground law. Pass it. No, we don't want a fake hearing. Thanks, but absolutely no thanks. We want it on the floor. We want it on the floor. I'm looking for an email. I had an email forwarded on to me by a wonderful gun owner who sent an email to Paul Gazelka. He sent an email to Paul Gazelka, and he said, very accurately, I might add, he simply said, "Paul, if you hold these hearings, all you're doing is playing into the anti-gun left's hands. All you're doing is risking losing your Senate Republican majority. Don't do that." I'm trying to find it. That's all right. I remember most of it by heart. He said, don't. He said, be brave, Paul. Stand up for gun owners. Advance the Second Amendment. And stop attacking our gun rights. You want to know what Paul Gazelka said? I remember it exactly. You want to know what he said? He said, "Don't forget, Bob, it's us coaches who have the playbook, and you fans don't know nothing. It's easy for you fans to tell us what we got to do, but we coaches are the ones who got the playbook. So I disagree with you, because I'm the coach. You're the fan. I got the playbook. You arrogant, condescending ass. How dare you talk down to the gun owners who gave you your majority? How dare you talk down to the members of Minnesota gun rights? How dare you tread all over our freedoms and then mock the members of Minnesota gun rights who gave you your damn majority in the first place? Shame on you, Paul Gazelka. Shame on you. Oh, you're the coach with the playbook, huh? And we're just the dumb old fans. You know, here's the thing about coaches. If you lose, and 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 you lose all the time, coaches like that tend to get fired. And they get replaced. They get replaced with a coach who actually knows how to win. And Paul, all you've done is lose and lose and lose and lose. Maybe it's time to fire your worthless backside. Maybe it's time for a new coach. And I don't know if you've noticed, Paul, but you don't have a lot of fans out here anymore. You don't have a lot of fans because gun owners are awake. Gun owners know what's happening here. And I know I know, Paul, you think gun owners are the dumbest people God ever made. I know you think that you and your caucus can take advantage of gun owners, that we're just all a bunch of blue-collar hicks. Just a bunch of dumb hicks from the boonies. What do we know? I know you think that's what we all are. And maybe I am just a dumb old hick from the boonies. But you know what? We all vote. Or we don't vote. And speaking for myself, I will not vote for a politician who says one thing and does another. I don't give a rat's ass who's running on the other side. I will not reward bad behavior, because you know what happens when you reward bad behavior? You get more bad behavior. I mean, I got a 4-year-old, he's just about 4, and a 2-year-old. My 2-year-old, he loves anything with a switch. Light switches, outlets, computer keyboards. He knocked the TV off the stand the other day. He loves anything that's electronic. Loves it. And the other day, there he goes, crawling towards the outlet with a big old freaking fork in his hand. You know what happens if you don't discipline your toddler? You get a brat. You got a naughty little shit, and all of a sudden, they're 16 years old, and you're sitting there going, what have I done? I got a spoiled, rotten brat on my hands. You punish. You discipline. You discipline. You teach them how to behave. That way you get better behavior. Politicians are exactly the same. They need to be disciplined. They need to be taught how to behave. And it's our job as voters, as gun owners, to knock those smug, arrogant, condescending smiles off the face of people like Paul Gazelka when they email things like, we're the coach and we got the playbook. So why don't you stupid fans just be quiet? You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you don't know. You arrogant fool, Paul. You are one of the worst Senate majority leaders in America. And I know lots of them. I know lots of Senate majority leaders. Act like Senate Majority Leader Fitzgerald in Wisconsin. He is a champion in so many ways of gun rights. And he gave a great big middle finger to their Democrat governor, Tony Evers, when he was trying to pass gun control out there just a couple of months ago. Act like him. He's 10 times the man you are, Paul. You're a little man with little problems. It's time for you to start acting like a real champion. Enough with these fake con artist hearings. We don't want fake hearings. We don't want sham hearings. We don't want you to use our gun rights as an absolute tool in your belt. Stand your ground and constitutional carry are not poker chips to be bartered and traded in your little game of politics. These are laws that Minnesota desperately needs. Stand your ground saves lives. It saves lives. And it keeps good, law-abiding gun owners from going to jail when they use a firearm in self-defense. Gun owners deserve, this state deserves this legislation, these bills, this law. Stop using our freedom as a poker chip. Because in case nobody's noticed, well, that chip's been passed off to the Democrats for the last 4 years in a row. If you agree, guys, contact Gazelka with the information above this video and in the comment section. Tell him to stop with his sham hearings. Put stand your ground law and constitutional carry on the Senate floor for a vote. And start acting like a man. Start acting like a man. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know? I mean, I try to go to bed every night knowing that I did the best job I could, that I fought as hard as I could. I did as much as I possibly could in that workday to advance our freedom, to advance Minnesota, to protect our rights. And I hold my boys on my lap, and they're just happy to see me for 10 minutes before they go to bed at like 9:30. And I go to bed knowing I did my level best. Paul, how do you even go to bed at night, dude? Another day of conning voters, another day of selling your soul, another day of screwing our Second Amendment rights away. How do you sleep when you went and voted to fund Planned Parenthood and they're killing the babies? How do you sleep taking my tax dollars, your tax dollars, and giving it to abortion clinics? How do you sleep, Paul? I hope you toss and turn. I hope you toss and turn. I hope you never have a good night's rest. I hope you have no peace, because you deserve no peace when you stab our freedoms in the back, when you take our rights away, when you betray your conscience. Shame on you, lawmaker. Shame on you. You're supposed to be advancing our freedoms. You're supposed to be advancing America. And all we get out of you is two-faced lies and an attack on our freedoms. Contact him and make sure he hears it. And if you're not a member, please go to joinmgr.com. Become a member of Minnesota Gun Rights today. We need you fighting with us. The power of the Second Amendment community rests in the arms and in the heart of the members of Minnesota Gun Rights. That is where the power is in Minnesota politics. It's in you. Ben Phillips, I know you're a member. Bill, you're a member. Mandy's a member. So many of you, I know you're members. I know your names. I know your faces. We're friends. Bob, Michelle, friends, members, patriots, beautiful people. Stand with us if you're not already. Go to joinmgr.com. I threw a link in the comments there. Go to joinmgr.com, become a member. Michelle, she's a member. If you're already a member, go to donate2mgr.com. Make a contribution. Infuriate these people, because that's what infuriates them. It's because we fundraise. It's because we are always gearing up for major fights. And this ain't over. Oh, hell no, it's not over. We always have a plan. We always have a plan. You see, we're rolling into 2020. We're rolling into the 2020 election season. And that's where Minnesota Gun Rights members, we do our best work. We do our best work, and we will get our pound of flesh from these politicians and make sure that they understand that when you betray gun owners, when you betray our freedoms, when you stick a knife in our back, oh, we'll get you. We'll get you at election time. Don't believe us? Ask Rod Skoy. Ask Lyle Coonan, Will Morgan, Joe Radinovich, Tim Faust. Ask these politicians who used to be in St. Paul. They used to be attacking our gun rights, and now they're not anymore. I wonder how that happened. It's almost like Minnesota Gun Rights told everybody in their district that they were standing with Michael Bloomberg and that they were attacking our gun rights. We'll do it again in 2020, in 2022, in 2024. And one more thing. I know. We don't set a lot of stock in politicians. We don't have a lot of friends in St. Paul because most of them are cowards who won't fight for the things they say they believe. But let me tell you, I think the tide's turning a little bit. I think there is one in St. Paul I think there is one who's waking up and is ready to go to war on behalf of gun owners inside the Minnesota legislature, on behalf of the members and supporters of Minnesota gun rights. I think there is one. We'll talk more about that later. We'll talk more about it. But Minnesota gun rights, we've always had an open door, so to speak. We've always had an open door. If you are a politician and you have the cojones to stand up and be hated by the Republicans and the Democrats, by the media, by the fake pro-gun groups, and by the gun control groups, if you have the courage in your heart, in your soul, to stand up with us and fight for gun rights, our door is wide open. And there is one who's responded to that invitation. I'm not going to say yet. We have a lot of work to do. We have things we're hammering out, we're ironing out. But I think there's a new dawn, a new day coming. I think that the days of the Paul Gazelkas in Minnesota are limited. They're limited. The days of fake rhino politicians sticking it to gun owners, I think that maybe those days are limited for the first time. I'm very excited about it. Very excited. We always have a plan. We always have the next step. Hope is never lost. It is never lost. No matter how many politicians stand against us from no matter which party. We've got a plan. We've got a plan of action. We're gearing up for it. Help us. Stand with us. Stand with us. I'm very excited about the updates that'll be coming in the days and weeks ahead. But until then, put the screws down on Paul Gazelka and tell him that you're tired of his doublespeak, of his lies, of his arrogance, and of his betrayal of our most cherished freedoms. Contact him. Tell him now. Tell him now. And then join us at joinmgr.com or donate at donate2mgr.com. Donate2mgr.com. I will see you in Hibbing if you're up there. I see Jeffrey saying, see you in Hibbing. Long live the Second Amendment. Amen to that. I'll see a few of you up there. Don't make a big trip for it. Don't make a big trip for it. We're going to keep fighting like heck, guys. As hard as we can. Everything we got. Everything we got. Join up. Stand with us. Contact Paul Gazelka. Check back in with our next live stream video. We'll have more updates. We have a lot going on. A lot to look forward to. Bad things coming, but some good things also. Some good things also. And we've got a plan. Always got a plan. I'll talk to you guys later. God bless you. Thank you for your time, for your attention, for your passion, for your fight. Your children, your children's children, future generations of America will rise up and thank you. Years from now, they will thank you. They will thank those who came before and stood in the gap for their freedoms, no matter what happens. History remembers patriots. Our children, our grandchildren, they remember courage. They remember the fight. And the Paul Gazelkas of the world are lost to history. Seen only as the weak cowards that they are. Seen only as those who did not have the fortitude and the strength of heart to stand up and fight for what they claim they believe in. The members of Minnesota Gun Rights, well, it's just what we do here. We do it every day. So thank you guys. I'll see you back in the next live stream.